For the Orchid and Cats mini album, I have pre-cut my cardstock and my chipboard for the covers, the pages, the base pages, and all the different elements. This is going to have 3 page sets in this album. I'm going to do this a little bit different. Normally I start with showing you how to do the cover, but this time I'm going to show you creating the pages and adding the pattern paper to the pages outside of the album, and then determining what our spine needs to be at the end. So we'll make the album cover after we've done the pages. I have set aside the paper that I want for the album cover so that I don't cut into that. So I have pre-cut my pattern papers. This is a real challenge with this design team package. I got the pad that's the Stampera Orchids and Cats, and a pad comes with 10 double-sided sheets of 12 by 12 paper. So I have 10 sheets, which is 20 sides, but if you're cutting one side, then you don't have the other. So I designed this album to have pages in the sizes that I can get the most out of this pattern paper pad. It does come with cut aparts on the cover of the pad and the back of the pad, so I've already cut all those out. So I'll be using those in the album. And then I also, in my design team package, I did receive some solid cardstock, which I have cut some already, and I'll be cutting more to use in that. And then with that, I'm going to add in probably some stamped images on the solid as we go along. So I got this Stampera stamp collection that I can use. And then I also have these pretty Prima metal trinkets. And then I have some loop pins that I can use for charms. And I'm going to have to look for some charms that go with this collection. And then, of course, I have the seam binding ribbon in the pink, the white, the gray, and the moss green. So that's what I'm going to be using. So I'm going to get started on the base pages. Let me put this aside for now. The colors I got were the... go over that real quick. I got 2 each of the solids. So I've got the chamois in the brown or tan, and I got the polished stone in the gray, and I got the pink, which is called Sweetie Pie, and then I got the green that's called Desert Cactus. So those are the solid colors that I got in my design team package from Country Craft Creations, and that's what I'll be using. I also got the, though I have the cut aparts, I also have the chipboard pack that goes with the Orchid and Cats, which has some great chipboard pieces that I'll also be using in my album. So let's get started on our base pages. So I have the pattern papers here already pre-cut, and we're not ready to put these down, but I will give you the measurements for what I cut. So the first thing is our base page, and I didn't want to write on the white. I am using the white artisan cardstock. So for the base pages, you need 3. We're going to have 3 sets, so we need 3 that are 6 by 10. So that's the base pages, and we're going to go ahead and score these. You put your 10-inch side at the top, and we're going to score at a 1/2 inch. Something's on my tool here that I didn't want to slide. 1/2 inch and 9 1/2. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on all 3 of these base page sections here. These are the pocket flaps that are the pocket attachment that is going to make the page that we can attach onto our hinges later. So we're going to score all 3 of these at a 1/2 inch and 9 1/2. 1/2 inch and 9 1/2. And then also for our base pages, we're going to need 3 6-inch by 10, and there's not going to be any scoring on those. So that's what we need to assemble. I'm going to go ahead and go over the pattern papers that I cut so that we can utilize the papers. You have to look at your design and decide where you're going to cut. So I have I cut 5 that are 5 7/8 wide, by 8 7/8 tall. So we have the hummingbird here, we have the sleeping kitty, another sleeping kitty, and then we have some orchids. Now, if you're not into cats, which of course I am, but if you're not into cats, there's enough of this paper, the front and the back, or certain sides, where you can actually utilize this and not have cats in this. So the colors are beautiful. If you just want it for the orchids, you can certainly do that. And then this is a white orchid in the flower pot. So there's 5 of these that are, again, 5 7/8 wide by 8 7/8 tall. And then we have one, because I'm going to have one of my pages that will have a pocket on the bottom, so I didn't need the full size, so it's 5 7/8 wide by 5.5 tall. So I chose to use this with the letter here on envelope here on the side. So these we're going to set aside. I'm going to clip base pages onto it so I don't cut it for anything else. Grab me a clip, because we're not going to put these on until we are actually assembling the different elements for each page. But we are going to assemble our pages now. So I'm going to slide this over just a little bit to get me more in the center. So I'm going to be using glue. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take these 10-inch pieces that where we scored at 1/2 inch and 9.5, and we're going to fold the score lines, and we're going to burnish to get these attachment hinges. So they should be going the same direction. So you're going to go ahead and do all 3 of these the same. Okay, now we're ready to attach this piece onto our base page. So we have 3 of these that were cut to 6 by 9. I'm going to lay these over here and make sure they're lining up okay before I actually attach any adhesive. So I'm going to be using, you can use score tape if you want to. I'm going to go ahead and use the art glitter glue. So I'm going to put some on this hinge over here on the right. So just on that 1/2 inch attachment hinge there. Take your 6 by 9 piece, and we're going to line that up on that hinge. Make sure the ends are lined up and the sides. Go ahead and burnish that. I'm just doing one side right now. Take a look at it. Now we're ready to open this back, add your glue to the hinge, attachment hinge here on the inside. And we're going to bring the flap back over, and we're going to attach this down. So again, making sure you lined up on both ends. The cut end of the 6 by 9 onto the fold line of the other piece. So go ahead and burnish that. I'm just going to take a look, make sure everything's lined up correct. So now we have this sleeve like this. This will be our base page that goes onto our hinge. Okay, so we're going to set that aside with the pattern papers that we cut for the base page. So let's grab another and continue this the same way, attaching your 6 by 9 to the scored and folded 6 by 10 piece. So we have our base pages put together. We have 3 like this, where you have the opening all the way through. So the back side is going to be a hinge, and the other side will be where you can put in some photo mats in the pocket on the open side. So we're going to be ready to work on our page set 1. Each page set will be different. We'll have different elements on it. So we're going to work on one set at a time, and we'll be starting with page set 1. For page set 1, we're going to use one of these base pages. And we had already cut our pattern papers. Again, this full size for the front side here is measures 5 7/8 wide by 8 7/8. I have already inked all the edges of my pattern paper with this Color Philosophy Prima's sepia color. It's a brown color, so you can kind of see that on the edges. So I've already inked that. So this is going to go here, but before we add it on, I'm going to go ahead and get this element ready. You need to cut 6 8" by 4 pieces, and we're going to score each one of these at 4 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and score one with you and then do all the rest of them. Go ahead and speed up the video. So score at 4. And of course each one you're going to fold and you're going to burnish that fold line. So go ahead and do that on all 6 of these. Okay, so we have scored these in half at 4 inches, the 8" side, and then I've burnished all the full folds. So I'm going to go ahead and take my pattern paper here, and this is going to completely cover this side of our page. So I'm going to use glue, the art glitter glue, and go ahead and put that on the back of the pattern paper. So you're going to choose the sides and the patterns that you like the best. So this is just got the orchid on it. So I'm going to put this right here, center it, top to bottom, side to side. Okay, and go ahead and burnish that. See, I want to move it over just a little bit. When I'm sitting, sometimes it's hard to position these exactly where I want them. There we go. I think that's better. Okay. So go ahead and burnish that down. Use your bone folder to burnish that glue down and get it stuck down good. Okay, so there's that side patterned. Now we're going to assemble these little, we're going to make an accordion add-on piece. So I'm going to look at it. This is going to kind of sit down in here. It is going to cover up some of it. And I think that's the direction I want it to go. So you take each piece here. We're going to put a fold to the right, flip this one, put the fold to the left, fold to the right, fold to the left, fold to the right, and end up with a fold to the left. And now we're going to put these together and we're going to make them into little pockets. Okay? So take your first one and your second one. So you have a fold to the left and a fold to the right. And we're going to join these two together. So I'm going to just put glue along the bottom edge on the back and left and right side. Just a line of glue right along the edge. So when you stick these together, you want the fold of the top one on your left and the fold of the one you're attaching to on your right, and you're going to line these up and make sure they're lined up top and bottom. Go ahead and open it up and burnish it. So this is going to make a pocket in between here where they're attached together. Need a little bit more glue right here, so just make sure that they're glued shut and burnished. This next one, you've got the fold here on the right, so you're going to put glue on the back side, just on the edge, the two sides, and across the bottom. you're going to take the next one with the fold to the left, and you're going to put these together. That's why if you will have them stacked up the way they go before you start gluing, everything will come in together correctly. So we're going to burnish across the bottom. Okay, so we have another pocket right here. So we have one on the second one and the third one. So now we're going to do it again. We're going to put glue on the bottom edge. So don't do any flipping and getting things mixed up. And this one's going to go to the one with the fold to the right. We'll line it up, turn it over so I can burnish it, get everything lined up. Okay, again, glue on the edges across the bottom and this other side. And this next one's going to have the fold to the left. And this is going to give you in this little album a lot of places for some photos or journaling that you might want to do. So now we got another one. On the sides and across the bottom. This is the last one. Fold to the right. Put them together. Line them up. Across the bottom. Okay, burnish that. So that is our accordion piece right there. Now make sure everything comes unfolded. Make sure none of the glue is sticking. So it should look like this. So it's got the zigzag. And we bring it in and out, and so you can flip it open this way, or you can flip it to the right, or you can completely pull it out. Now we are going to have a ribbon closure for this. So for this front piece here, I did cut out one of the cats that is around the circle. So this pattern piece measures 3 7/8 wide. 3 7/8 wide by 3 7/8 tall. So double check that. 3 7/8 wide by 3 7/8 tall. So you just need one piece of pattern paper. Again, I've inked it. And I'm going to have it opening to my right. So this is the front right here. So this is going to fit right over that. Okay. So go ahead and put your pattern paper on there. Your glue on the back. And then just go ahead and center that on there. Nice and neat, and burnish that on. So there's the front there. So let's go ahead and add some inside here. So we need, I'm going to open this up and count. I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They'll be stuck together. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Make sure your glue is not sticking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 there. This is going to be gluing down. So that's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I need 6 on each side. Now I'm going to use solid cardstock. And this is where I might decide to do some stamping. So you're going to cut 12. You can do 2 different colors. I think I'm going to use some tan, some of the chamois color, and the green. And so these need to be cut 3 7/8 by 3 7/8, just like the one on the front. So I want 12, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 6. Yes, so we want 12 that are out of cardstock, 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. For the stamped images with the stamp set by Stampura for this collection, I cut 6 white artisan cardstock squares that are 3.5 by 3.5. I've already stamped some of them. I wanted to show you how I'm stamping it on at least one, and then I'm going to go ahead and stamp the rest off camera. But anyway, I put them in my stamping platform, use the magnets to hold the squares, and then I position my stamps, and then I pick it up with the lid, and make sure that if you're using this Tim Holtz one, that it says rubber here on the front. You want to flip it over. And then I'm using the same ink, the Sepia Color Philosophy, because I like the kind of vintage, not solid black, you know, stark black, but just the brown. And so I ink it up. Make sure I'm getting it inked pretty good, especially where the words are. And then I'm going to stamp it down. Now then, if it doesn't take as clear as I want, which it needs some more, I'm going to ink it again because the magnets are holding my paper in place. So I'm going to rub some ink on it and press it in some more. The flowers didn't get enough on them. Okay, and then press it down. And that looks pretty good. The flowers could use a little bit more, so I'm just going to ink those. Sometimes certain stamps, you have problems with the impressions hitting right or getting enough ink on them. Okay, that's better. So we're going to use that. So that's that one. So I'm going to have 6 of these that go in this accordion add-on. And so I'm going to go ahead and stamp the others off camera. So I have cut the mats out of the My Colors cardstock from Country Craft Creations. I'm using the chamois and the green. These were cut. I cut 12 at 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. I'm going to put, there's 6 on each side, so I'm going to put 3 of the stamped images on the left and 3 on the right. So I've just kind of selected them, and they're going to be going on to the brown, the chamois color. So I'm just going to center them on each one. So I have my glue. And I'm just going to pick up one and lay it on there like that. Just center it so this should be pretty even, and burnish that down. Just like that. So there's one. Second one. Time spent with cats is never wasted. So I only showed you one of these being stamped in the tutorial, but I did do 6 of the images from the stamp set onto the white artisan cardstock. Okay, and green, and one more brown. So I like how this Prima Color Philosophy sepia color, excuse me, matches almost perfectly this My Color chamois paper color right here. So it looks really good together. So there's that set of 6 right there. And now the next ones. Life is better with cats. So if you're a cat lover, this is a really fun paper collection. It's by Stampura. You can get this stamp set and the paper collection while supplies last at countrycraftcreations.com. This would be great for making cards as well. This one says Perfect Day, and it has a flower. And you may have noticed here on my table I have a little bit different setup for this project. I thought if I left my mat here and my scoreboard here, I could save some time from switching back and forth. We'll see on that. So there's the green, another one, and the last one here says leave your print. I like that little paw print there, that's really cute. Okay, and we line this up. Okay, so there's that one. So now we have all these ready to go into the book. Now I have cut my ribbon and just tied it. I have not attached it down. I just didn't want to forget it. So for the ribbon closure, you're going to need about a yard. I did tie the ends because I let it go ahead and fray on the end. And I'm probably going to crinkle it up a little bit before I tie it on. So I just take my spritz bottle of water and spritz it on a little bit. And just kind of wad it up and then let it dry. So I'm going to lay that aside and let that dry for a bit. So while I go ahead and put this pattern paper on. So I'm going to open this up and we're going to put the first one here. So it should fit right in there. And use the glue. Still going to have plenty of places for photos. If you ended up needing to, you could of course put a photo over the stamped image. Here. I think that's going to really dress it up. So then a green one goes over here, which is for a photo. Just double checking my size and my mats here. It's doesn't have much of a margin around it. So if you want a bigger margin instead of 3 7/8, you would cut it 3 3/4, if that's what you wanted to do. Okay. And we're going to open this up. Keep sticking there a little bit. There we go. Perfect day. In the center. Another green one. One more. One more green one. Now that does leave this one, but this is the one that should attach down onto our page, so we don't need to put pattern paper on that last one on the back side. Stick this one here. Okay, so there's that side. And like I said, this last one here is folded under. That's going to be attached into onto the page. So now we flip this way. And we're going to do the 6. So we'll do home is where the cat is. And next we'll put the ribbon tie on. Oops, make sure that stays on right. There we go. So this just folds back up like that. And then we'll take the ribbon. Let's see if it's dry enough. Yeah. Open it up after I've spritzed it. And we're going to attach it to the back here. I'm going to go half and half. Just kind of lay it right there in the center. And I'm going to take a bit of score tape. Doesn't matter what size. This is 3/8 right here. You could also use Scotch tape, whatever you have on hand, and just attach it right there. Bring it around. Let's go ahead and tie it. Make sure it's where we want it to be. That. Just tie it in a bow. There we go. No, I love that cat on that paper. So there it is attached in the back. Oops, I've got it twisted. I'm going to straighten it up. Double check that. Make sure it goes flat the way you want it to. If you want to put extra tape on it, you can. But this is going to be glued down, but I want to tie it, make sure it's straight coming up from the back. So now I'll tie it in another bow. Okay, so now it's flat back there. So take your page and you're just going to decide where you want to put it. So I'm going to put it kind of down towards the pots and just over about a 1/4 of an inch from the pattern paper edge. So I'll take the tape backing off, and on this back side we put glue. So we want to make sure it sticks down over the ribbon here. I put some. And then we're just going to make sure we put it on straight as we can. I moved it over a little bit so I can see some of the pink flower here. So it's about a 1/2 inch from the edge. And get it as straight as you can and press it down. And let's open this up so we can get into where it is attached. And let's make sure it's straight. It looks straight from one side and then the other side it didn't. So there we go. That looks better. Okay. Burnish that down on the inside. Make sure it sticks down really good over the ribbons. Okay, there we go, like that, and it folds up and then it ties. So that is the front side of page set 1 of our album pages. I'll just kind of wrinkle that up a little more and then let it go like that. So for now, that's all we're doing. We're not doing any adding, any decorating or anything right now. Before moving on to the back side of page set 1, I did want to tell you to create some tags, photo mats that go inside the top of these pages of this add-on that we did. So you need 5, and I cut mine out of the white cardstock, 5 tag inserts that are 3 1/4 tall by 4 inches wide. Let's see, I'm telling you the right way. They're 3 1/4 wide by 4 inches tall, sorry. And I corner around the bottom 2 corners. And then I wanted a little design. Now you can use a punch that you might have, a decorative punch, any kind of die that you might have to make a shape on the top of yours. So I'm going with this little pointy with the rounded corners. Now to do this, I only want to punch the top edge. So I insert my mat so that the bottom is on top of the die. And I have to eyeball it a little bit. I tend to kind of get off some on one side or the other, but do it the best you can. So I'm going to go ahead and take this. I put tape over it and I run it through my die cutting machine. So I'm going to go ahead and pause for just a second and do that, and then I'll be back. So I already had 4 done, and this is the 5th one that I just did. So I cut the top, and then I'm going to take my 1/2 inch corner chomper and just round the bottom corners. So in this add-on piece that we just did, you do have to, because these were flat, they weren't pockets with the hinges in them, so they do get a little tight from the glue. Now we don't have one in the front one, but we do in the second one here. So I just kind of take my bone folder and very carefully insert it into there and make sure that it's opened up enough inside. You don't want to tear, just kind of gently push so that you can take one of these tags and insert it into the pocket. So you have one on the second one like that, and then we'll have one on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth one. The one that's attached down doesn't have one, of course. I've already taken my bone folder and opened up the pockets. So I'm just going to stick one in each pocket. And so these are good places to do some journaling or add some extra photos. So this goes here. And this little bit of decorative just sticks up and looks really nice. And like I said, you could use any punch maybe that you have to punch out that top edge, or you could use any die that you might have, shape that you could use. And remember, the 3.5 is the width of this, and it's 4 inches tall. So now when we fold it up, and you could even stamp on those little inserts if you wanted to. Okay, this one's crooked. So just kind of put them all in the same, and it just kind of gives you that little decorative look there sticking out the top. So now we can tie this back up, and we're ready for the back side of page set 1. So now we're ready for the back side of page set 1. So make sure you flip it over so that everything stays in the right direction. You don't want to assemble anything upside down. So we did cut our page that goes on this one. So I'm going to look at it, and I think this one with the sleeping cat is the next one that I want to use. And we're going to make some flaps. So let me grab this. I've cut this pattern piece, and I'll give you the measurements of what we've got. We want 4 5.5 by 4.5. So there's 4.5 by 5.5, and we need 4 of these to make some flaps. And I'm going to see the height here. This is going to go about right here above the cat. So we're not attaching this paper yet. Remember, this is the base piece of paper that we cut earlier for our base pages. And again, that measurement is 5 7/8 wide by 8 7/8 tall. So that's the piece I want for that. And again, if you want to ink your edges, I am using the sepia color in Color Philosophy. So I'm going to do that real quick because I have not done that on these pieces. Normally I like to do it off camera so it doesn't take up a lot of time, but I'm going to do it real quick. And a lot of times I like to just use my ink pad like this and let a little bit get on the edge if you're wanting to look more vintage, more worn out. See how it puts a little bit right there? Not a whole lot. It doesn't cover up a lot. So I just like to do it that way. For me, I like it better than the applicators. So I'm also going to do this piece here. This piece is for these mats, just the one on the front. And I'm going to use this with the flower. So it is cut at 3 7/8 by 5 3/8. So these measurements, I will try to put them into the cutting guide. This one I did ink already. The cutting list that you can find in the description below my video, and you do have to click on show more to be able to see it, and then you can copy and paste it, or if I have time I will put it as a link to a Google Doc. So we'll see how that works. Sometimes it's easier for me to just put them in a Google document for you. Take your 4 pieces of the 5.5 by 4.5 inch white cardstock pieces. We're going to put the 4.5 in here at the top, and we're going to score it a 1/2 inch on all 4. And go ahead and fold each score line and burnish it. What we're going to do is make a set of stacked flaps for the back side of page set 1. So there's those. We're also going to make some little tag closures for this flat piece here. So you need 2 pieces that are 2 inches by 2 inches out of the white cardstock. And we're going to put it in. You're just going to score 1 2-inch edge. You're going to put it in 2 inch at the top, and we're going to score it a 1/4 inch and a 1/2 inch on both pieces. 1/4 inch and 1/2. Okay. We'll go ahead and fold these up and burnish them. And you might make it easier before you do that if you do your tag. If you do not have, I'm going to use a tag punch that I had from Stampin' Up. And if you don't have a tag punch like this, I'm going to show you how to do that. I'll tell you how to do it without one, but I really like this top edge here. Of course, once I get it in there, sometimes it gets stuck because it's real short. So I'll have to take probably my craft knife and just gently lift it out so I can get it. There we go. And see, I love how it makes that design there for a tag. Now, if you don't have that, what you'll need to do is angle cut the tops or use some other decorative punch. It doesn't have to be like a tag. It could be just decorative punch there. So whatever you have. Before I fold these score lines, I'm going to go ahead and push this one back in and punch it. Okay, so that's my tag closures ready. And I'm going to go ahead and put my patterned paper on them, I believe, now before I actually go ahead and start assembling stuff. So now these I cut out 2 inches by 2 inches because I'm still going to need my tag punch. And you need, I have 3 here, I need 4, so let me grab some more paper that I can cut real quick. Utilize my scraps. So I need a 2 inch by 2 inch square. I have my cutter here on the side of me on a different table or shelf. So these are 2 inch by 2 inch. This is bigger than what we actually need, but we're doing this so that we can punch. We'll go ahead and punch each one, and then we will trim down the bottom for what we need. So you will do the same. Cut that one off a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and punch these real quick. Okay, so I have my 4 little pieces cut with my tag to match. As of course you see, these are longer than what we need to pattern this. So I'm just going to take my pencil and I'm going to lay these each one down. You want one on the front and the back. So kind of line it up the way you want it, maybe just a little bit off the edge there. And I'm just going to put a tick mark where I want it cut. And I'm probably going to take my scissors. It's going to be easier than that. So I'm going to just cut across and double check. Let's see. Yeah, I didn't measure it right. It needs to be beyond the second fold here. So a little bit smaller right here on each one. So if I get one cut the way I want it, then I will just use the other as a pattern so that I can see where she's going to fold. It's very small. There we go. So I'll cut this one across, straight across, and then I'm going to cut each of the others using this one as my placement, as a pattern. And this will be a ribbon tag closure piece. Now that if you want to cut it down on the sides a little bit so that it has some margin, you can do that. Like this one has already been kind of trimmed down some. Let's see if I've got to straighten this up a little bit. So there's that one like that. And I'm going to go ahead and ink the bottom of these on the side that I'm using. And I'm going to put this one on the inside. I'm going to use my glue. So you just want to make sure that you are putting pattern paper on the inside and the outside, because when it opens up, you're going to be able to see the inside of the flap closure. So you want that all finished up. I'm just lining it up a little bit like that. Flip it over this other side. See how she looks. I'm going to trim just a tiny bit off each side, just like a tiny bit, and ink that. So you kind of just have to make them fit the way you want. That one's already got one. There we go. So this is the front side. Okay. And one more. This one on the front. Okay. Okay, so those are ready. Now we have cut a piece of pattern paper for the first flap. And this is 3 7/8, the 5 3/8. And ink the edges. So I'm using this side here with the flowers. This is going to fit on the front of this one. Just like that. So I'm going to take my ruler and a pencil. Well, I have to apologize. When I was doing this next step in this and I had to go sharpen my pencil, I paused my video and I forgot to turn it, release the pause button. And so I did this whole thing off camera. But don't despair. It's important for you to know how to do this, so I'm going to show you recreate it with a different piece of paper, which is also my prototype album that I designed to see how I wanted to create this one. So I've got my elements cut out. So this is my base piece from my page for the go on the main page. And this is the piece that's going to go here. So I'll tell you all that. So I have these two little closure pieces. I'm not going to put pattern paper on them just now because I'm not actually going to use this. I'm just doing this to show you how to create it all. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add these to this paper. So you want a piece of pattern paper that is cut to 3 7/8 wide by 5 3/8 tall. So this is what's going to fit on the front flap of the stack element here that we're going to make. So this is going to go here. And I want the closure on that. So let me move this finished one here out of the way for now. I'm going to lay my patterned paper here. This is going to go on the main page. And then we want to fit this here. So I'm laying, nothing's glued down. You're just going to lay it on here. And this is going to fit about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch from the left side, the fold of the flap element here. So we want our closure piece. We want one on the pattern paper. Let me make sure this is lined up right. Down here at the bottom. Okay. We want one on our pattern paper. And so I'm going to position it. So flatten your 2 score lines so that you have a 1/2 inch on the back. So just flatten it right here. And that pencil that I needed is here. And it's got a sharpened point. And I'm going to lay these out so that I can see. I want this one closer in. About, a 1/2 inch from the edge or so. So this one, I'm going to hold it here. And I'm going to mark a line. Just a 1/16 maybe beyond the actual closure piece or the tag piece. Then I'm going to butt these up, and over here on this side I'm going to draw a line same way, just bring it out a little bit beyond. Okay, so then lift these up, take that one piece of pattern paper, and you can take your ruler and lay it on here where you can see the line and cut right along that line with your craft knife to make a slit. Okay, so that's what we have right there. I'm going to go ahead and erase it, the pencil line. Grab this piece of paper where we also marked it. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to cut a slit on this side. Now then, go ahead and erase those pencil lines as well. So take your little tag closure pieces, and you're just going to cut a little angle from the fold line of the 1/4 inch out and cut in. So you have an angle like that. So there's your score line. You have a 1/2 inch and a 1/2 inch. So do that on both of them. Just the last 1/2 inch, cut a little angle. And remember, this would be patterned front and back, like I did this. We've already done that. So that's patterned. Then we're going to take our main piece of paper. We're going to see if it goes in, and it does. So you only want the 1/4 inch coming from the back. Take some, I'm using Scotch tape. You can use score tape if you want to, but you'll have to remember to pull your backing off when you glue your paper onto your page. So I secure it with that. And I'm going to open this up on the other side here. So flip it open and then just kind of lift up in here and go ahead and put a little bit of glue along that hinge on the inside and secure that down and burnish that down. So there's the closure on the main page. And then we're going to lay this out again. I don't know if y'all can hear the wind chimes. It is very windy today. So I'm going to do this about a 1/2 inch from the left side. I've lined this all up the way it's going to be. You can't attach it down yet because you've got to get this little hinge in there, or a little flap. So the same way, we're going to stick it in the 1/4 inch and flatten it over. And then that's going to go here. I'm just doing it to double check and line them up, so that will have to move. So go ahead and put this on, flatten it down, take your tape, secure that back right there, and then turn it over, and again on the inside just lift it up a little bit and put some glue. I want to make sure that she's staying where I want it. Oops, I didn't catch it good. So this might pulled out. There we go, like that. and just make sure that hinge is, that 1/4 inch is out where you can see it. And then put a little bit of glue underneath. Doesn't want to let me get underneath there, but it will work. So just push your nozzle in, a little bit of glue right there. And then burnish that down. So that is the closure there. Now then you want to take your flap, and we're going to go ahead and put this piece on. So you put glue on the back side. And you want the hinge facing to the right, the top of the little, not the hinge, but the closure piece. And you go ahead and line this up on your page. Like that. Now we're ready to assemble all of these. So you take your first one, move some stuff out of the way. You've got your hinge folded back. Put glue on the back side of this 1/2 inch attachment hinge. You're going to grab your second flap here, fold the hinge down and under, and on the left side you have that fold. You're going to line them up. So we're just stacking it on top of each other, and you need to make sure, hold it up, make sure the tops and side and the bottom are even. Then burnish that. Put it here on the mat. Burnish it. Open it up and burnish. Make sure no glue is oozing out. Grab your next one. Flip this one over. Glue on the back side of the attachment hinge. Hinge of this one, the folds to the left. Stack them together. Make sure they're lined up. Burnish. Open it up. Burnish inside, that way we know it's not stuck. Take the fourth one, same thing, you're going to put glue here on the back of the hinge. Stack these up. Make sure again they're lining up, top, side, and bottom. Let's burnish that. Open it up on the back here. And double check your glue, clean it up if you need to, and burnish. So that's that stacked piece. So we have all of these. We still have a 1/2 inch hinge sticking out here for the page. So we're still working on just the pattern paper. We do not have our page attached to our base page yet. So this next part, we're going to take our pencil again. And I want this, like I said, about a 1/2 inch from the side. So I need to make sure it's going to be a little bit further on this one, but I want them to kind of almost matching here in the middle. See that? So we're going to match those up pretty good. And so this one's a little further over because I think this is smaller than what I actually had. But anyway, once you get it lined up where you want, make sure it's straight. Go ahead and draw you a line. And take it out just a little bit beyond. And I kind of do a T mark here with my pencil so I can see the end. Okay, so now we're going to take the craft knife again, and we're going to cut using our ruler. Onto the pattern paper, just make a slit. Can go ahead and erase that. Also take this and do a little angle cut on this hinge piece. Now if you want, you can go ahead and put some glue just a little bit here on this hinge to make sure it stays down good. And you're going to open this slit and you're going to slide this in. Make sure she's straight on the front where you want it. So that, whoops. hingy goes in. Okay, out. There we go. So you have to go all the way through. Bring it down and fold it so that glue grabs there on that side. And make sure it's still straight. Okay. And then I turn it over and I do take this Scotch tape, or you can use, again, you could use score tape if you wanted to, and attach, whoops, sticky, attach this hinge down to secure it in place. So there's that, and that's where we're at with this piece here. So we have this all assembled, these all flip up, and we're going to put cardstock in there, and then we'll add ribbon to our closure, and we'll put this on our page. So this was just to show you what to do. This is not the pattern paper you're going to be using. We're working with this. This was just to correct the mistake that I made by not recording, turning the recorded video recording back on. So there we are with that. Put that aside, and we're ready to continue with this. So I'm going to pause the camera, or actually turn it off and then turn it back on. I'm going to cut my cardstock mats that are going to go in here with the contrasting cardstock, and then we'll add the ribbon. I did cut my ribbon already. You need about 18 inches, 2 pieces, 18 inches. I have spritzed it with water, crinkled it up. I'm using the moss green color for this. I think that looks really good with this paper here on the front. So get those ribbons ready, and then we'll add in our mats, and we'll get this back side of page set 1 completed. Okay, so I've cut my contrasting cardstock. Now you're going to need a total of 7 pieces that are 3 7/8 wide by 5 3/8. You can do them all in cardstock. I decided to do 6 in cardstock and 1 in pattern paper because I still had some pattern paper I could use. So I used 2 in the chamois color, 2 in the gray, and 2 in the pink that I received in my design team package, and then I did 1 in the pattern paper, and of course I inked the edges. So the next thing we're going to do is, like, I'm going to use the same colors facing each other. So I'm going to speed up the video on this part. I'm just going to mat all these on the inside with glue. And again, these are all 3 7/8 wide by 5 3/8 tall. So go ahead and mat your attachment piece, your stacked photo mat pages. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Speed it up now. Okay, so there's our booklet attached, patterned with the contrasting cardstock attached to our pattern paper for our page. Now all we need to do is add our ribbon. So we have the 2 18-inch pieces of ribbon, and I'm going to take 1 for each closure here, and I'm just going to feed 1 in here. This is going to be like double, and I'm going to match them up down here at the bottom, straighten it out, match it out pretty good, turn it so it lays better. Remember, it's crinkled up, so that's okay. So we match them up here, stretch it out, and I'm just going to tie knot the 2 of them together on the end, just like that. Pull that, snip off the end, and that part, I don't care if it ravels. The knot will keep it from unraveling completely. Then we'll do the other one the exact same way. From the inside, we're going to feed it in, pull it up. We're going to line them up together, get them straight, and then we're going to tie that knot here on the end. Tie the 2 together, pull that knot tight, and just trim it off to a little bit short there. And then there's our closure piece. We still see a lot of the elements of the paper, the kitty on the bottom here, this part up here, because when you open this all up, you see the whole thing. So we can enjoy the pretty patterned papers and still utilize this for photos and journaling. So just tie this into a bow. Have that. So now we're ready to grab our base page, our page set 1. So we already have the front side done. Make sure the direction's going right. So our cat, the top of the cat's here, the top of our pockets are here at the top. Flip it over. Now this is a little bulky here, but all you need to do is add this pattern paper. So all the elements are done. And so I'll just flip it over. I'll take my glue and add the glue here on the edges. And then we'll just attach this down. Whoops. Carefully. Line it up, the bottom, the top, the side. Yeah, I'll get it to where you want it. And then I'm going to use my hands to burnish it at first. And then you're going to use your bone folder or whatever you like to use to burnish with. Make sure it's down flat, and I'm going to untie this and lift all this up and then burnish here in the center as well. So isn't that pretty? Yeah, so next we're ready to move on to page set 2. And remember, you still have this opened like this so that it will go on the hinge. This will become a pocket here.